Mystery also shifts the balance of power. When you're too predictable, she's in control. She knows exactly how you'll respond, exactly what you'll say, and exactly when you'll reach out. But when you pull back, when you embrace silence, you take back that control. You place her in the position of wondering, waiting, and reaching out. That is the power of mystery. It flips the dynamic in your favor. Self-respect is the foundation of every healthy dynamic. And without it, you will always find yourself begging for crumbs of validation. The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. If you respect yourself, others are forced to meet you at that level. If you don't, they sense it instantly and mirror that lack of value back to you. When you text endlessly, when you chase without pause, when you keep giving attention to someone who isn't giving it back, you're not just showing interest. You're showing a lack of self-respect, and nothing kills attraction faster than that. Respect is never asked for. It's earned. And the first person you need to earn it from is yourself. Every time you choose to hold back, every time you resist the urge to chase, you're reminding yourself that your dignity comes first. You are showing that your peace of mind is more important than someone else's temporary attention. That mindset is powerful because it sends an unshakable message. You value yourself. And the moment you value yourself, others have no choice but to value you too. Think about the people you naturally respect. They're not the ones who beg, who plead, who make themselves available at every moment. They're the ones who hold boundaries. They're the ones who know when to walk away. They're the ones who don't compromise their standards just to be accepted. That strength draws admiration, and admiration always turns into respect. The same principle applies in relationships. If you respect yourself enough not to chase, not to overextend, not to lower your worth, you force the other person to step up or step out. Either way, you win because you've chosen yourself first. Self-respect also communicates confidence without you having to say a word. When you're not running after her attention, when you're not begging for replies, you're silently saying, I know my value. And that unspoken confidence is far louder than any declaration you could type in a message. It shows that your sense of worth isn't tied to anyone else's validation. It's rooted in how you see yourself. That level of strength is rare, and rarity is always respected. But here's the deeper truth. Self-respect doesn't just earn you respect from others, it changes the way you see yourself. It builds inner strength, discipline, and pride. The more you choose not to settle, the more you prove to yourself that you are enough. That self-belief radiates in everything you do, in your posture, your tone, your presence. And people can feel it. Respect begins within and radiates outward. When you lack self-respect, you'll always find yourself in one-sided situations where you're chasing and they're running. But when you cultivate it, you flip the script. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you command. And those who once overlooked you are forced to pay attention because you've shown them through your actions that your value cannot be ignored. Self-respect is not arrogance. It's alignment. It's the decision to honor yourself first. And when you do, respect from others will always follow. Detachment is one of the greatest acts of strength you can ever practice because it allows you to reclaim the power you've been giving away. When you're overly attached, when you cling to someone's responses, their validation, their attention, you place your entire sense of worth in their hands. You become reactive to their every move. If they reply, you feel good. If they ignore you, you feel worthless. That kind of attachment robs you of your stability and makes you powerless in your own life. But the moment you detach, the moment you step back and refuse to let their behavior dictate your value, everything changes. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. It means you stop giving someone else the keys to your peace of mind. You begin to understand that your happiness, your confidence, and your self-worth do not come from someone else's approval. They come from within. When you detach, you reclaim your emotional independence. You remind yourself that you are whole with or without their attention. That shift alone puts the power back in your hands. When you're attached, you chase, you overthink. You analyze every little word, every emoji, every silence. You give them control because your emotions are tied to what they do or don't do. But when you detach, you no longer overinvest. You no longer feel the urge to check your phone every 2 minutes. You no longer allow their inconsistency to disrupt your inner balance. Instead, you remain centered, calm, and grounded. That kind of strength is rare, and rare always commands respect. The beauty of detachment is that it also creates attraction. People feel it when you're too attached, when your energy is desperate, when you need them more than they need you. That energy pushes them away. But when you're detached, when you no longer seek their validation, when you're content with or without them, your presence becomes magnetic. They start wondering why you're not chasing, why you're not begging, why you're not doing what everyone else does. That curiosity pulls them closer because they realize they don't control you. You control yourself. Detachment is also freedom. It frees you from the mental prison of waiting, hoping, and overanalyzing. It allows you to redirect all that wasted energy back into yourself, into your growth, your goals, your purpose. You stop asking, why don't they value me? And start proving your value to yourself. That is how you elevate. That is how you reclaim the power you've been giving away without even realizing it. The truth is, attachment drains you while detachment empowers you. One keeps you stuck in a cycle of neediness. The other sets you free to live on your terms. When you detach, you don't lose anything. You gain everything. You gain clarity, strength, and control. You no longer beg for someone to choose you because you've already chosen yourself. And that decision, that self-alignment, is where real power begins. Walking away is one of the most irresistible moves you can ever make because it shows a level of strength and self-control that very few people possess. Most chase, most beg, most cling when they feel someone slipping away. But the one who has the courage to walk away stands out. That act alone communicates confidence, independence, and power without a single word being spoken. It says, I refuse to settle for less than I deserve. I value myself more than this situation, and nothing commands respect more than someone who chooses dignity over desperation. When you walk away, you immediately shift the balance of power. Up until that moment, the other person may have felt secure knowing you would always be there, always waiting, always trying. But when you remove yourself, when you pull back your energy and your attention, they are forced to feel your absence. And absence is loud. It creates space for reflection, for regret, for longing. Suddenly, they realize what they had but took for granted. They may not have noticed your presence when you were constantly available, but they will always notice your absence once you've walked away. Walking away is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It means you're willing to face discomfort, to embrace uncertainty, to let go of what doesn't honor your worth. Most people stay stuck because they're afraid of being alone, afraid of losing someone, afraid of the unknown. But the person who walks away chooses growth over fear. And that choice makes them unforgettable because deep down people admire strength. Even if they don't admit it, they are drawn to the one who can leave instead of cling. Here's the paradox. The moment you walk away, you often trigger the very response you wanted all along. People chase what they think they can lose. They desire what is no longer easily accessible. When you stay and beg, they pull further away. But when you leave with dignity, you create scarcity. You awaken curiosity and you spark desire. Your silence, your absence, your refusal to play the game becomes irresistible. Walking away also protects you. It shields you from wasting more time, more energy, and more emotion on something that isn't reciprocated. It gives you clarity. If they let you walk away without fighting for you, that's your answer. If your absence makes them come back with respect and effort, that's your confirmation. Either way, you win because you've chosen yourself. And here's the ultimate truth. Walking away is not about punishing them. It's about honoring yourself. It's about saying, I will no longer pour my energy into a place that doesn't value it. That kind of self-respect is magnetic. It makes people stop and think. It makes them realize they cannot play with your presence. And whether they return or not, you've already proven the most important thing. You are not afraid to walk alone, and that is what makes you irresistible. At the end of the day, everything comes down to one simple truth. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you tolerate, and where you place your energy. When you stop texting, when you stop chasing, when you let silence speak, you're not just pulling back from her, you're stepping into your own power. Your energy is your value. Your attention is your currency, and your self-respect is your shield. Scarcity creates desire. Mystery fuels attraction, and detachment restores balance. And when you finally have the strength to walk away, you show that nothing, not her attention, not her approval, not her presence, defines your worth. The right move isn't to convince her. The right move isn't to beg or explain. The right move is to choose yourself, protect your energy, and let her feel the weight of your absence. Because the man who can remain silent, who can respect himself, who can detach and walk away, that man is unforgettable. That man doesn't chase love, he attracts it. And that man never loses because he already knows his value. Never text her again. Your silence speaks louder than any words. Every message you send lowers your value. Every moment of silence raises it. Mystery fuels desire and detachment restores power. Respect yourself first and watch how she starts chasing the man who walks away with strength. Silence is one of the most powerful responses you can ever give, yet so many underestimate its impact. When you choose silence over desperate text, over endless explanations, over trying to prove your worth, you send a message that no words could ever express. Silence carries weight. It lingers in the mind. It forces the other person to sit with their own thoughts, their own imagination, and their own curiosity. When you are constantly texting, constantly reaching out, you remove all mystery, all space, and all value from yourself. But the moment you step back, the moment you let silence do the talking, everything shifts. People often think that communication means speaking more, saying more, doing more. But true communication, the type that pierces through the heart, often comes from restraint. The absence of your words suddenly becomes louder than your presence ever was. She notices it. She feels it. She begins to question why the man who once always reached out no longer does. She wonders if you've moved on, if you've lost interest, or if you found someone better. Her mind begins to play a game with her, and that game is created not by what you said, but by what you didn't say. This silence unsettles her because it shifts the dynamic. She's no longer in control of your attention. Your silence communicates strength. It communicates that you are not desperate, not dependent, not waiting by the phone for her reply. It shows you have the discipline to walk away from anything that doesn't serve your self-respect. In a world where everyone overshares, where everyone begs for attention, silence becomes a rare and powerful weapon. Think about it. When someone ignores you or pulls away, it doesn't make you forget them. It makes you think about them more. It makes you question their feelings, their motives, and their intentions. Silence creates space for imagination, and imagination is always stronger than reality. She can dismiss your words. She can reject your texts, but she cannot ignore the silence. That silence becomes a constant reminder that your energy has been withdrawn, and with it, so has your value from her life. Silence also protects your dignity. Every time you choose not to send that text, you're choosing yourself. You're choosing to protect your self-respect rather than hand it over to someone who hasn't earned it. It takes discipline, yes, but that very discipline is what sets you apart. You're no longer trying to prove anything. You're simply letting your absence prove everything. And here's the truth. Silence will always expose where you stand. If she truly values you, your silence will draw her closer. If she doesn't, she will let it pass without a thought, and that is your answer. Either way, silence gives you clarity. Words may confuse, actions may mislead, but silence never lies. It speaks louder than anything you could ever type on a screen. Your energy is the most valuable currency you possess. Yet so many people waste it by pouring it into the wrong places. Every message you send, every call you make, every attempt to prove yourself is an investment of your energy. And here's the truth. When you give it freely to someone who hasn't earned it, you devalue yourself. The more energy you chase with, the more you signal that your worth is tied to their validation. But when you hold back, when you recognize that your energy is sacred, you instantly elevate your value in their eyes, and more importantly, in your own. Think about what happens when you chase someone with constant attention. You may believe you're showing interest or care, but in reality, you're training them to take your presence for granted. They know you'll be there. They know you'll text first, check in first, and keep the connection alive, even if they give nothing in return. This imbalance doesn't just make you look needy. It drains you of the power that comes from self-control. Your energy becomes cheap, and anything cheap loses its worth. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine pulling your energy back and redirecting it towards yourself, your goals, your growth. Instead of sending another message, you go to the gym. Instead of waiting for her reply, you focus on building your future. That shift in focus radiates a completely different energy, an energy of abundance, self-respect, and confidence. And people feel that. When you are no longer pouring everything into one person, you stand taller, you speak differently, and your presence commands attention. Your energy is also magnetic. It creates an invisible pull that others cannot ignore. But that magnetism only works when you are not scattering your energy everywhere. When you center it within yourself, when you guard it instead of wasting it, people naturally become drawn to you. She will sense that shift. She will feel the difference when the man who once gave her all of his energy suddenly invested in himself. That contrast awakens curiosity, and curiosity is the foundation of attraction. Here's the part many forget. Energy is not infinite. Every day you have a limited supply. If you keep wasting it on unanswered texts, endless calls, and people who don't reciprocate, you are robbing yourself of the power to create, to grow, and to attract. But if you use that same energy to build your life, to elevate your mindset, to sharpen your discipline, you become unstoppable. And in that process, you stop begging for validation because you already embody it. When you finally understand that your energy is your value, you become selective with who receives it. You no longer chase because you know your presence is a gift. You no longer beg because you know your attention is rare. And the moment you stop handing it out freely, the world begins to treat you differently. Those who once overlooked you now wonder why your focus is no longer on them. That's when they realize your energy was the value all along. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. We are wired to want what is rare, to chase what is slipping away, and to value what is not easily available. When you make yourself constantly accessible, constantly present, and always available at the push of a button, you destroy that sense of scarcity. She knows you'll answer. She knows you'll text back immediately. She knows you'll be there no matter what. And the moment she knows that, desire begins to fade because people don't chase what they already own. They chase what they fear they might lose. When you stop texting, when you stop being the one to initiate every interaction, you introduce scarcity into the dynamic. Your presence becomes less predictable. Your attention is no longer guaranteed. That sudden shift forces her to pay attention in ways she never did before. She starts wondering why you haven't reached out, why your energy has shifted, why the certainty she once had is suddenly gone. That uncertainty creates desire because now she has to earn what she once took for granted. Think about it. Luxury goods are valuable not because they're the best in the world, but because they're scarce. They're limited, rare, and not everyone has access to them. The same principle applies to human behavior. When your time, your attention, and your energy are rare, they gain value. When you're always available, you lose that sense of exclusivity. But when you step back, when you become harder to access, when you let silence replace constant availability, you instantly increase your value in her eyes. Scarcity also creates space for her emotions to grow. Desire cannot breathe when everything is already handed to her. It grows in the absence, in the uncertainty, in the longing that comes when she doesn't know what you're thinking or what you're doing. Your silence becomes the trigger that sparks her curiosity, and curiosity quickly turns into desire. She might not admit it, but she'll start noticing the absence of your presence. She'll wonder what changed. She'll wonder who has your attention now. That sense of not knowing is what makes her crave it again. The key is to understand that scarcity doesn't mean playing childish games. It means valuing yourself enough not to overextend your energy. It means understanding that the more you give without balance, the less it is worth. And it means having the discipline to step back so she can step forward. Scarcity shifts the power dynamic. It forces her to chase, to initiate, to prove because she realizes your attention is no longer something she can take lightly. When you embrace scarcity, you stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. You let the absence of your presence remind them of it. And it works every time because human beings will always place higher value on what they fear losing. By stepping back, you don't just create space, you create desire. And that desire only grows stronger in the silence you leave behind. Attention is the most valuable currency you have, and the way you spend it determines how people treat you. In today's world, everyone is fighting for attention, brands, influencers, relationships, even strangers online. Attention has become the modern form of power. Whoever controls it holds influence, and whoever gives it away carelessly loses value. When you constantly text her, when you flood her with your energy, what you're really doing is overspending your currency. You're showing that your attention is cheap, that it doesn't require effort to earn, and once it becomes cheap, it loses its worth. Think about how people respond when something is rare versus when it's abundant. A diamond is valued not because it's indestructible, but because it's scarce. On the other hand, water from the tap is everywhere, and though it's essential, most people take it for granted. Your attention works the same way. When you pour it endlessly into someone who hasn't invested in you, you devalue it. She doesn't have to earn it. She doesn't have to chase it. It's always there waiting for her. And human nature dictates that what comes too easily is never truly appreciated. Now imagine shifting that dynamic. Imagine treating your attention like the treasure it is. Instead of giving it freely, you start being intentional. You don't respond right away. You don't initiate every conversation. You don't hand over your time and energy to someone who gives you the bare minimum. Suddenly, your attention becomes valuable again because it's not guaranteed. It becomes a reward, not a default. She begins to notice when it's missing, and she starts craving it when it's not there. This change creates a powerful psychological effect. She realizes your attention is something she has to earn, not something she can simply expect. The truth is, the person who gives less attention often has more power in any dynamic. Why? Because their attention is limited, selective, and valuable. When you show that your focus is not easily won, people respect it. They want to be the one who captures it. They want to feel chosen. But when you give your attention away endlessly, you remove that sense of privilege. It's no longer special. It's ordinary. And ordinary never excites anyone. This is why you must learn to guard your attention. Don't spend it where it's not appreciated. Don't waste it on someone who ignores it. Redirect it towards yourself, your purpose, and your growth. The more you value your own attention, the more others will as well. People mirror how you treat yourself. If you treat your energy and focus like it's worth little, others will treat it the same way. If you protect it and give it only to those who earn it, others will start valuing it like the rare currency it truly is. Attention builds relationships, fuels attraction, and creates connection, but only when it's used wisely. When you understand its power, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop proving. Instead, you make people realize that your attention is a privilege, not a right. And once they understand that, they will chase it more than anything else. Mystery is one of the most powerful elements of attraction, yet it's the first thing people destroy when they overexpose themselves. The moment you constantly text, constantly explain, constantly reveal every thought and every move, you take away the very thing that sparks desire. Attraction thrives in curiosity. It grows in the unknown, in the unanswered questions, in the space between what is said and what is left unsaid. When you choose to be silent, when you stop giving constant access to your world, you awaken mystery. And that mystery makes you unforgettable. People are naturally drawn to what they cannot fully figure out. When someone feels like they have you completely understood, when every thought and every action of yours is predictable, the excitement fades. But when you hold back, when you reveal pieces of yourself slowly, when you don't give constant reassurance through endless messages, you create a sense of intrigue. She begins to wonder what you're thinking, what you're doing, who has your attention. That curiosity is powerful. It keeps her mind on you long after the conversation ends. Mystery also creates emotional tension, and tension is the foundation of attraction. If you're always available, there's no tension. If you're always explaining, there's no curiosity. But if you step back, if you let silence speak for you, if you allow her to sit in the unknown, the tension grows. And with it, so does her desire to seek you out. She will want to break that silence, to uncover the mystery, to solve the unanswered questions. This is why some people linger in our minds far longer than others, not because they gave us everything, but because they didn't. The most magnetic individuals in the world understand this principle. They know that less is more. They know that being slightly unavailable, slightly unpredictable keeps them desirable. They don't rush to prove themselves. They don't overshare. And they don't hand over their entire personality in one sitting. Instead, they allow people to peel back the layers over time. And it's that gradual reveal that keeps others hooked. When you stop texting her constantly, when you no longer give her the full script of your day, you reintroduce that mystery. She no longer knows what you're doing, where your focus is, or who's getting your attention. That lack of certainty makes her curious. And curiosity is what makes her think about you when you're not there. It's what makes her replay old conversations, analyze past moments, and crave new ones.